Hi, my name is Fawn. I'm 33. I'm originally from South Africa, but now I live in Montreal in Canada. So, I first heard about ayahuasca when I was in my early 20s through Terence McKenna. I was listening to a lot of his podcasts and reading some of his books, and though I didn't have access to ayahuasca at that time, it definitely planted some seed of intrigue in me. And then in my mid 20s, when I finished my bachelor's degree, I decided to travel around the globe a little bit, and something always called me to go to the Amazon, and it's really not something that can be pinned down by any kind of rationality. There wasn't any kind of specific reason, but there was a drive that called me towards there. I was also doing a lot of permaculture work back then, so I found a place that was combining permaculture and shamanic work. And there I got introduced to ayahuasca, which had a very, very dramatic impact on my life because I was raised a spiritual atheist. I didn't have any real background or experience with anything beyond the material realm. I would have counted Richard Dawkins as one of my heroes. I would have considered myself, classic rationalist, spiritual, materialist atheist. And then within a few short weeks and turning into months, I remember one of my first major conclusions was that magic is real. That these paths, these ancient medicines, reestablish your connection to a divinity and our place as human beings to the divine, to our place in a grander story. Something that I think we as a species have right now forgotten. So to me, ayahuasca on a very macro kind of level helps us to remember who we really are as individuals and as a collective species, and our true birthright as, to use a banal term, celestial beings. So I spent about a year and a half working very intensely with ayahuasca. After that, I got some messages that it was time for me to move on, but I've maintained a connection with that plant medicine and other plant medicines for many years till now. And it's hard to really give a testimonial about this big change in my life. I didn't necessarily come to this world with any major baggage in terms of addictions or serious traumas I needed to heal. But now reflecting back, I do see how incredibly confused as a human being I was in a lot of terms, and things I valued and things I didn't value that were based mostly on what I consumed through media culture growing up, consuming a lot of television and developing a value hierarchy based on that. And what ayahuasca really taught me, and San Pedro and other plant medicines, is what's really truly important at the end of the day. And so I've been able to kind of reorientate my entire life based on what I perceive now to be authentic values. So since I left Peru, I haven't been back to Peru, and there were some things I needed to work out for myself personally about coming back here, because it did end not really strange, but there was some strange interaction with the people I was involved with. And but finally, through a series of synchronicities, everything lined up, and somehow I came here with one of my best friends and my brother, and we found Arkana. And we happened to have come here in a week where they shot a documentary, and they had this incredible maestra here, Christina. And I'm not sure how many ceremonies I've done, but probably somewhere in the region of about 60 ceremonies. And there's no reference point for me for the profundity of her connection to the medicine. She just is the medicine. She's just a living human embodiment of the wisdom of the Amazon, the wisdom of ayahuasca. She doesn't need to try. It's not a show. It's just fully who she is, authentically. And Arkana has blown my mind, because the people here are just so goddamn real, and the work they're doing is so goddamn real. and it really reignited my passion and my flame for this medicine and the transformation it can bring about in individual lives, and the trauma each of us deal with, and then also the trauma of our collective species that's obviously very lost right now and trying to find its way. And there's not many things I believe in this world, but the sacred plant medicines and this path is that I really feel can have the major transformative change we require right now, because I saw it in my own life and I see it in other people's lives too. And I think that's about all. Thank you.